Section 3. How do I take action? An introduction module to the Diversity and Inclusion Training on How to Lead the Change, a course package offered by the Center for Social Intelligence. Welcome back. In this third section, we will explore how to take action by providing a blueprint for how organizations can take action and measure their progress. With this information, your organization will have better tools to incorporate diverse groups of people, regardless of race, religion, or gender, to create an inclusive workplace culture where everyone feels they belong. There are many concepts within this course which can't be fully explained in 15 minutes. Consider what you want to learn more about and commit to doing your own research. Find a colleague or friend to be your accountability buddy and work together to ask questions and share learnings. Successfully implementing diversity and inclusion involves 3 key elements. These include what you can do personally to be the change. What actions can you take right now to demonstrate you are more accepting of a diverse and inclusive culture? Make the change. What skills and tools can you learn that, when onboarded, make you more capable of contributing to the organization's goal of attaining a diverse and inclusive culture? And lastly, track and measure the change. What indicators should be tracked to measure progress towards the specific diversity and inclusion goals? Being the change involves saying it, showing it, and applying social corporate intelligence, essentially improving your emotional intelligence or EQ skills, such as empathy, impulse control, and assertiveness. Let's take a look at each one of these. To be the change, you must say it through a formal commitment and follow through with behavior that models your commitment. What does that look like? As Mahatma Gandhi said, "Be the change you wish to see in the world." You must embody the future state you wish to see with your words and actions. You should articulate the social and financial benefits or the business advantage of diversity and inclusion, verbally and in writing, whenever you can. In your related policies, acknowledge intersectional differences among people and historical injustices that may have harmed some of your staff members. In training sessions, guide people through learning why diversity and inclusion is important. Be patient and recognize that people are often uncomfortable with change, and it takes some time to adopt new ways of thinking and being. Finally, share successful stories of other organizations that have implemented diversity and inclusion strategies. Saying it also involves reviewing your organization's current policies and procedures and identifying existing and potential barriers for your employees. For example, travel policies often overlook how many people, such as women and gender minorities, are more vulnerable with attending a conference that extends into the evening. For many, taking transit home is an acceptable means to get home late at night, but for others, providing the option to take a taxi home and expensing it with the company is an equity measure that can be taken to create equal comfort for all employees to attend that conference. This, in turn, provides opportunities for all employees and helps create an equal playing field. Saying it also involves saying it at the sector level, using your influence at conferences, presentations, and other sector-wide meetings to demonstrate commitment to diversity and inclusion and joining national action initiatives that support it. Showing your commitment means following through on your words. This starts with an assessment of how ready your organization is for a culture change such as this. A readiness assessment looks at what other changes are going on within the organization, how well previous attempts at change initiatives were received by employees, and an understanding of where challenges in implementation may be. This information helps when preparing for the implementation of the Diversity and Inclusion Plan and shows employees that you are considering their particular context for undertaking a culture change of this scope and size and paying attention to how to make it the best process possible for all. Asking questions or conducting focus group discussions that seek to understand how receptive people are to a culture change is always a good place to start. Some questions that you may try to answer are: where is your organization with regard to gender parity? Do you notice trends with who gets hired and who gets promoted? Are your staff members complaining about burnout or other workplace issues? Have there been a lot of changes occurring in your organization lately? Have you tried doing something on diversity and inclusion before, but it didn't get traction? Was the executive team supportive or dismissive of diversity and inclusion? Do you know where you may run into resistance? Knowing the answers to these types of questions can help you to strategically engage with all employees as you embark on a diversity and inclusion strategy. Other ways to show you are committed to shifting the workplace culture to be more welcoming to all is through actions like articulate, verbally and in writing, what the business case is for this change to the workplace culture. Hire someone specifically to lead the culture change, recognizing they will require a team to support them with implementation. Ask managers to raise at their team meetings about the importance of zero tolerance for certain behaviors, such as jokes that are demeaning to others, and the need to value all voices. And finally, finding ways to give recognition and awards to those who emulate the behavior you wish to see in an inclusive culture. Making them role models helps others to see what is expected of them. Another critical component of being the change is educating yourself on corporate social intelligence skills and putting them into practice. The Center for Social Intelligence defines corporate social intelligence as an organization's acknowledgement, actions, and investments into the social dimensions of their organization, such as diversity and inclusion, mental health, and intergenerational issues with the goal of increasing productivity, health and wellness, and the bottom line. There are several emotional intelligence skills, often called EQ skills, that underpin corporate social intelligence, including such things as self-awareness, which is the ability to recognize your feelings, differentiate between them, know why you are feeling these feelings, and recognize the impact your feelings have on others around you. Self-regard is the ability to respect and accept yourself. To have healthy self-regard is to appreciate your perceived positive aspects and possibilities, as well as to accept your limitations. So, for example, accepting that there is more than one way to solve a problem and being okay with that. Empathy, which is the ability to be aware of, understand, and appreciate the feelings and thoughts of others. It's tuning in to what, how, and why people feel and think the way they do. Impulse control is the ability to resist or delay an impulse or temptation to act. It involves avoiding rash behaviors and decision-making, being composed and able to put the brakes on angry, aggressive, hostile, and irresponsible behavior. Finally, assertiveness involves the ability to express feelings, voice opinions, and stand up for personal rights, or in other words, not let others take advantage of you. By learning these EQ skills, everyone will have the ability to interact with all people, regardless of race, religion, or gender, more easily, creating trust, respect, and a sense of belonging. all key components of an inclusive workplace culture. All organizations should offer skills training to employees on these important skills. Once you know how to be the change through your words and actions, the question then becomes how to make the change in your organization. At CSI, we focus on training and skills development in 3 key areas: how to overcome resistance to diversity and inclusion within yourself and with others on your team, how to create an inclusive workplace culture, and how to become an effective ally. We have developed modules to help you with these skills. These training modules will help you to gain the knowledge to anticipate, identify, and tackle resistance in the workplace so that people are more accepting of this workplace culture change. Understand what inclusive leadership skills are and how they can be used to attract and retain diverse talent and create an inclusive culture, and what it means to be an effective ally for others regardless of race, religion, or gender, to create a workplace where everyone is valued and respected. Let's provide a high-level overview of what each topic will cover. The first module focuses on how to overcome resistance. In this module, we will look at what resistance looks like, why people are resistant, when resistance is commonly encountered, and specific tools and strategies to handle resistance at the individual and corporate level. This training will help to identify the various ways resistance shows itself and explain some of the reasons that it occurs in the first place, allowing for a more strategic approach on how to overcome it. The second module focuses on how to create an inclusive culture. In it, we look at how inclusive leadership is a business-critical growth strategy, and the difference between traditional and inclusive leadership, how to implement inclusive leadership practices throughout the employee life cycle, as well as how diversity and inclusion solidifies any organization's corporate social responsibility efforts. The final module looks at how to become an effective ally. Specifically, it looks at what an ally is, how to become an ally, whether male or female, organizational actions that can be taken to create a workplace environment that encourages allyship, and how allies of today can lead the way for future generations. In an effort to provide the full picture of what should be done when implementing a culture shift of this kind, we want to highlight some key points regarding tracking and measuring the change. As we all know, what gets tracked has a greater likelihood to get changed. Let's take a more detailed look at what indicators to track, how to measure performance, and when to measure. A common question asked about diversity and inclusion is, how do you know when the culture has shifted? What exactly do you track? We recommend that you take a close look at representation. Who is currently represented in your workforce? Data obtained from this information can inform what needs to be done next to create equity measures that allows all people to gravitate to your organization. Differences in pay. Are staff members in the same position being paid the same amount? Are bonus structures transparent and fair? Are there any noticeable discrepancies? Recruitment. Who exactly is being recruited? Is there a typical type of person that makes it through the hiring process? Retention. Who is leaving and who is staying? Knowing this information can help assess what needs to be done to bring in more diverse groups. Advancement. Who is getting the advancement opportunities? If a certain group is consistently being hired, use this data to determine why that is the case. And social intelligence in the workplace culture. Who is using these skills? Those who do are more likely to be accepting of diverse groups and guiding others to do the same. Tracking social intelligence through observation and engagement with an individual allows an organization to see how EQ skills are adding value to creating a more inclusive workplace culture. Okay, so now that we know what indicators to track, how exactly should we be measuring them? Many methods are available to track performance results, including surveys, monitoring engagement through informal feedback channels and networks, creating formal feedback channels like focus group discussions and one-on-one interviews with employees. Management should create deliberate opportunities for dialogue and track the implementation of new programs and policies. A performance measurement strategy should ensure that specific, measurable, agreed-upon, realistic, and time-based targets are in place. Knowing when to measure is also important, as you do not want to burden people with a ton of surveys and constantly asking questions. Organizations must determine specific timelines for monitoring and collecting data. There are different options that might be suitable. Think about quarterly monitoring can include conducting a diversity and inclusion audit of recruitment ratios for applicants, shortlists, and new hires, collecting gender and race ratios on promotions for positions for all applicants, analyzing gender ratios of requests made and granted for flexible work arrangements, and researching the percentage of underrepresented groups at each staff level and in each job description. A yearly monitoring approach may involve conducting an abridged diversity and inclusion audit annually that includes a selection of questions from the initial audit to measure uptake, holding a follow-up pay gap study using the same metrics as in the original study so that change can be evaluated, reviewing recruitment materials and targets, and assess them for all underrepresented groups on recruitment shortlists, track number, frequency, and attendance for diversity and inclusion training activities, tracking reports of sexual harassment incidents, reviewing flexible work arrangements by gender and race, and review mentorship and professional development programs by gender. Finally, biennial monitoring involves repeating the full diversity and inclusion audit every other year. This diagram captures the concept of how to create a competitive advantage in your organization. On the outside circle, you are tracking and measuring the indicators at a certain time interval and by means determined appropriate for your particular context. The next circle includes the knowledge and skills acquired by all employees that help to shift the mindset and culture of everyone so that there is greater awareness and understanding of the purpose behind the culture shift, the actions each person can undertake, and the skills they must acquire to meet the leadership's objectives of being competitive in today's global market. The next circle depicts the actions each individual can take to commit to this change, through what they say and how they behave. The arrow depicts that all of the things identified in each circle can be tracked and measured, and by actioning all of these things, your organization can create a competitive advantage. In summary, by being the change, making the change, and tracking the change, an organization has the necessary ingredients to rise above the competition and make a meaningful positive impact to society and their bottom line. When you're ready, let's see what you've learned with this short quiz.